Hello, I'm Charmaine Bryan, author of the book Stop Buying Clothes You Don't Wear, founder of Charmaine Bryan Image Consulting. I help entrepreneurs and professionals to elevate their professional image through enhancing their appearance, behavior, and communication. So today, I want to welcome you, and I'll be talking about the 5 lessons I learned being a district leader in Toastmasters. And why have I chosen this topic today? Well, I want to give you some context. I have been a leader in Toastmasters for the last 2 years, and that's been area director currently and previously as a VP, Vice President of Education at the club level. So I decided to talk about this today because this has been the week as my leadership term of area director is coming to an end the next month, and I've been visiting my clubs this week and submitting reports to Toastmasters International. I've really been reflecting on what I've actually learned over the last year or two as a leader within Toastmasters. So to give you some context about Toastmasters, for those of you who don't really know much about Toastmasters, it's an opportunity for you to join an organization where you join a club and you get to practice your communication, public speaking, and leadership skills. It's really a learn by doing. And usually when people think of Toastmasters, leadership isn't really something that comes to mind straight away, because if you speak to members who are currently in Toastmasters, or even guests who come to visit the clubs, you ask them why they're there, why they joined, most of the time, and what I would say majority of the time, it's because they're saying that they want to learn public speaking skills. They want to become better communicators, better public speakers. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they've joined Toastmasters to fine-tune their leadership skills. But fortunately, Toastmasters is the perfect place to fine-tune your leadership skills. It's such a great organization that gives you a lot of opportunity. And I have learned a lot over the I've been a member now for 3 years continuously in Toronto. And as I said, a leader for the last 2 years. But you don't necessarily take on an informal role as a leader when you join Toastmasters. Sometimes when you start at the club level, you're taking on roles such as chairing the meeting, being the Toastmaster, being a timer, evaluating a speech, leading an impromptu speaking session. So there's a variety of ways that you can take on leadership roles that may not necessarily be obvious titles of a leader, but that's how you get started in Toastmasters. And then if you decide that you're enjoying it, there's an opportunity to become a leader at the club level, which is what I did 2 years ago. I got voted in by my club members as a Vice President of Education, where I managed the planning of the meetings, the mentor, and making sure that members were mentored for their first few speeches and beyond, as well as for my particular club, because we had a project management forum, I also looked for external speakers. So Vice President of Education is very much an involved role. And then I decided after doing a year of that to become a district leader, which is above the club level, where you manage a number of clubs. So I took on managing 4 clubs, and I oversaw the clubs, and I would go and visit the clubs, and as I said, submit reports to Toastmasters International. I organized area speech contests. So I done quite a lot this year, and really I just wanted to talk about, I guess, what I learned, because it's been quite the experience for me. I mean, as considering that when I joined Toastmasters, I never thought that I was joining to learn, to really develop my leadership skills. It was all about, I want to become a better public speaker and develop my communication skills. So let's dive in. Let me talk about, well, what were the 5 lessons that I learned? Well, number 1, The first lesson I learned is do it scared and learn along the way. And that was something that I learned straight away, as well, almost straight away, when I was vice president of education at my on the executive of my club, because the area director approached our club to offer us the opportunity to host the area speech contests in spring of 2017. And at the time, our president said it would be a great opportunity to showcase our club. We're a project management club, so we can really utilize our skills. And at that time, of course, I was vice president of education and thought, I've got a lot on my plate. I've never organized a speech contest before, because previously I was always a contestant. So being on the other side was a little bit scary for me, as well as learning about, well, doing my day-to-day VP education role, as well as taking on this speech contest, the two speech contests. But my president did say to me, why don't you rise to the challenge? It's an opportunity to do this as your high performance leadership project, which is something that I would need to do to gain credit towards my advanced leadership silver. So she said, why, this is a perfect opportunity to work on it now. So I was, of course, worried. As I said, I hadn't done a speech contest before, but she had, and so did another person in my club. They had both run area and division speech contests. So I knew that I had the support and guidance on my side. And I managed to pull it off. I organized this area contest in a quick space of time, worked with my committee and other members of the team, executive team, and club members to put together these two area speech contests, and they were successful. We had a great turnout. So had I declined and said, no, I didn't want to do it, I would have lost out on that opportunity. And as it happens, because I did become an area director a year later, a part of my job is to organize the two area speech contests for the fall and the spring. So because I had already done it, I knew exactly what to do when I actually managed it and had the control as part of my own role. So that worked out really well for me, and I managed to tick off my higher performance leadership project, which was perfect for me. So number 2, I learned, don't take it all on yourself. And this is something that when I became an area director, I took on a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. It's something you think, oh, you've just got to organize contests and do a few club visits, but it's a lot more than that. It really is dedication and attending district meetings and making sure that clubs are doing well and giving them any support. And as I said, part of my role was to organize the two contests, which I already had the experience of. But because I was now an area director and not eligible to compete in contests anymore, I decided I wanted to chair my first area speech contest, because I hadn't chaired before. But that was a big mistake I made, because I took on this role of chairing as well as organizing the contest, which the organizing the contest part was fine because I'd already had that experience previously earlier on in the year. But I hadn't had the experience of also chairing the meeting. Plus, I was out of the country immediately before the area speech contest. I went back home to London for a couple of weeks. So I came back the day before the contest and was severely jet lagged. And of course the contest still went on. It was fine. I chaired the contest, but I did realize afterwards, why did I put so much pressure on myself to chair the contest as well as organize it? While I'd gotten people to fill the other roles for the contest, I should have asked someone to chair it for me, because I just felt like it was too much pressure. So that is something that I learned, that for the next contest, which happened in the spring, I thought, well, number one, I gave someone the opportunity that if they wanted to step up and, like me, have the opportunity to organize the contest and do it as a high performance leadership project. But when I did darts around my clubs, there was no interest. So in the end, I did organize it again myself. But this time I learned not to chair. So I put it out there, and I got someone great to chair for me. And he did an amazing job. And it was a great area contest, as well as all the other contest roles. And I felt like it was a really successful contest the second time round. Not to say that the first one wasn't, but the pressure was definitely off, because I knew that I wasn't chairing and I could focus on filling the roles and making sure all the other contest logistics got filled this time around. So I did feel so much better when I made that decision the second time around to definitely get someone to chair for me, because people are always willing to help out if you ask them. I mean, that's the great thing about Toastmasters as an organization, that people are willing to help you. And I always say it's so amazing that for something that is essentially a voluntary organization, a lot of people are willing to give their time. So if you do ask them, they will help you, which is what was fantastic for me. So number 3, I understand that people are taking on voluntary roles and have a plan for backup. So as I said, Toastmasters is a voluntary organization. People do take on the roles. It's voluntary. You know, as I said, you may want to be, they may want to take on a club leadership role, or a role in the meeting, or help out at contests, or take on a district leadership role. But it's also remembering that it is voluntary. People do have other priorities, and that's something that I really did recognize, especially when I was organizing the speech contests. Yes, I got all my roles filled. Yes, people agree to do them, but stuff happens, other priorities come up. And when it's a voluntary role, while of course they were committed at the time to doing the task, things do come up and things change. So for me, I really just learned that I couldn't just recruit the amount of people that I needed for each role. I would need to recruit more than I needed, just in case that people needed to drop out. And as it happened, people did drop out as I anticipated. And so I did have people who were back up, luckily, who were also available to still come and help out. So that was something that I really learned that was really key. While, you know, a lot of people have great intentions and they do really want to help you out, stuff happens, emergencies happen, work happens, other life stuff happens, and they need to drop out. I mean, the same thing happened when I was Vice President of Education. When I first came into the role, I thought I had it all sorted out. I had recruited an education committee. They would help me with various tasks. And then they both pretty much left the club at the same time. So that means those tasks came back to me, which then meant that I then spoke to the rest of my executive to ask if they could help me with particular tasks, such as finding speakers for our project management forum, because it was something that I couldn't necessarily do everything myself. So it was really about asking for help if I couldn't recruit another education committee. So I see 2 people are online. Let me know who you are. Say hello in the comments, or if there's anything that what I'm saying, if there's anything resonating, let me know. So number 3, it's a big one for me, and it's okay not to achieve all the goals, what you plan to achieve. And this was really key for me because when I started the year out as an area director, I know last year that the year the last year the area had performed a certain way. Hi, hi, Addy. Hi, Viola. Thanks for joining. So as I was saying, I yeah. The goals. Well, I set some goals at the beginning of my term of area director. I think last year they had achieved a certain goal, and I was looking at trying to exceed that goal. And when I really thought about it, I mean, to exceed the goal that had been achieved the year before, I would have needed to I had 4 clubs in my area, and to go up an extra to go further would have meant starting a new club, which is really challenging to start a new Toastmasters club. It's not something that can just happen overnight. And with a lot of the area director duties as they were, and the actual when I looked at the prospects in my area or division, there wasn't really any kind of interest for new clubs. And I guess at the time I was so busy doing what I was doing as an area director, as well as, of course, other things outside of Toastmasters, I realized that probably I wouldn't be able to start a new club, unfortunately, in the term that I had as area director. And another thing that I said, so the year before, I had achieved my Advanced Communicator Bronze, which is an advanced speaking award that I had achieved. And I was hoping to achieve my Advanced Communicator Silver. And I thought at the beginning of my term that shouldn't be a problem, because the year before I had managed to, I needed to deliver 8 speeches to complete my Advanced Leadership Silver. And I figured the year before I'd managed to deliver 7 speeches over 6 weeks, I think it was. And I thought, no problem, I can do that over a year. But then I didn't take into account not only how busy the area director role would be, and then what I was doing outside of Toastmasters. I had started a new part-time job. I was obviously working on developing my business. I moved, and I was also doing a project for the co-working space that I work out of. So I was doing all these things, and I thought that I could then get another advanced speaking award, which I would have loved to have done. And I did manage to deliver a speech while at another club while during this year as area director. And I did even talk to some of my clubs about delivering speeches to give me some time on their agenda when I visited. And then when I realized, I got sick one day, so I couldn't do it. And then I realized, why am I putting so much pressure on myself? It doesn't matter if I don't achieve this goal this year. It's not like I can't achieve it next year. So that's when I just decided I'm just going to focus on finishing the duties that I was doing for my area director role, and then I could then focus on speeches, which I can now do. So going forward, from next month, I'm booked to deliver some speeches, so I will focus on speeches next year, as I will have more of an opportunity. So number 5, I'm here already. I learned how to say no. And this is something that I found really difficult. Which maybe those of you watching, you may find it difficult to say no sometimes. I find I like to take on a lot of things. And I guess, I've listed some of the things I'm involved in, earlier. And I do take on a lot, and I like to be involved in stuff. But there's only so there's only so many ways that you can stretch yourself thin. And I am guilty of this all the time. So this time I decided that I've got to learn to start saying no to things, that I can't take on every possible thing. Did I miss doing the speeches this year? Well, I did. I did miss doing the speeches because I really do. But I mean, the great thing about Toastmasters is that while I didn't really get much of an opportunity to do prepared speeches, there's table topics, and table topics is where it's an impromptu speech round. So the person who's leading the round can give you a topic. You have no idea what the topic is before you go up, and they give you that topic. So I still very much took part in doing table topic speeches, which I feel like I mean, I could always improve on my impromptu speaking, because you never know when you're going to be called on to speak. So I felt like, although I wasn't doing prepared speeches as I would have liked to achieve my awards, I did do a lot of table topic speeches. You know, every opportunity at my club, or if I were visiting any of my clubs, I would do table topic speeches. And as an area director, because I was visiting clubs, I would still give remarks and give an update of what's happening within the district to the club. So that wasn't a prepared speech in a sense of I was doing a speech from the manual, I still had an opportunity to speak. Or even if you're taking on any role within Toastmasters, if you're an evaluator, timer, if you are the chair, you're always speaking. It's just that I just didn't do many prepared speeches as I would have liked. So yes, I did miss doing them. I'm looking forward to getting back to doing speeches. So going back to the no, yeah, this is something that I have learned a lot. To say no, and it's been hard because, as I said, I take on a lot, and I did find I was spreading myself too thin. I mean, and even as my area director term coming to an end next month, I was thinking, oh, I could do something else. And then I just thought, no, don't do anything else. Focus on what you're doing. You want to do speeches, more speeches. So that is an area that you want to focus on, not take on yet another thing. And even when recently I was asked to help plan a special occasion, I did have to say no, because I knew that I didn't have the bandwidth to do it, and I wouldn't have done the event justice if I had taken it on, knowing that I was spreading myself thin. So I said no, and I did feel like, oh, I'm letting the person down, but it was better in the end, because it meant that the event that happened took off and it went really well, because someone had the dedicated time and could do it. And that's something that I definitely going forward need to say more no to, if it's something that doesn't fit in with me, because as I said, it's not doing me or the other person or whatever task any justice. And it's interesting, I was listening to a podcast the other day about it was Amy Porterfield's podcast about lessons she learned from Shonda Rhimes. And if you've ever read Shonda Rhimes' book, she wrote the book of the Year of Yes. And it's only because I joked yesterday when I was speaking to a friend, I think I need to have a year of no, because I am too busy saying yes to everything, and I really just need to focus saying no and focus on the things that I need to be doing and not spreading myself too thin. So those were my 5 lessons that I learned as a Toastmasters district leader. So just to recap, Number one was do it scared and learn along the way. Number two was don't take it all on yourself. Number three, understand that people are taking on voluntary roles and plan for backup. Number four, it's okay to not achieve all your goals when you plan to. And number five, say no. So that's what I learned this year. What about you? Is there any goals? Is there anything that you've learned in the last year with any roles that you've been in, whether they've been voluntary at work or anything else that you've been involved in? Do say so in the comments, especially for those who are watching this as a replay. I would really love to know. And those of you watching live, do comment now. And if you would like to find out some more about me, you can find out more about what I do. As I said at the beginning, I help entrepreneurs and professionals to elevate their professional image through one-on-one coaching and training to enhance appearance, behavior, and communication. So if you'd like to find out more about what I do, you can look at my website, which is charmainebryan.com. I will post the link in the comments. So Viola, you're saying you need to learn to deal with change. Yes, I know change can be hard to deal with, but that is something that's always certain in life, change, and whether we like it or not, change is always going to happen, and it's really something to live with. And you just got to embrace the change. Take it one step at a time is what I say. Don't try and do everything at once. Baby steps, and just do it. It's hard, it's challenging, but you will find that when you do embrace the change, you will feel better about it because you've decided to take it on, which is challenging. So again, thank you for listening today, and do comment. If you've got any comments, do comment below. I'll be interested to hear, what you've learned and how you've overcome this and what you would do next time. And thank you for tuning in, and tune in again next week. I'm here every week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. Okay, see you next week.